Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve, and we do it through dignified networks, People of Distinction. The biggest out there airing CBS shows, and that's Apple's iTunes Radio Network under their professional news talk division, airing CBS shows, Fox News, NPR, BBC, C-SPAN, the whole kit and caboodle. Hey, you get it here on People of Distinction, Apple's iTunes Radio Network. Best in the country, best in the world for broadcasting. And visit my website, peopleofdistinction.org, if you want the best in, you hear all of my Apple streams there. And you see the relationships that I have with people like Ariana Huffington of the Huffington Post. And also you can read up on my communications and business consulting, basically under my major media consulting. Yeah, CBS Radio, that's major media. And coming from major media, I'm very well acquainted on how to move things through major media and also digital media, product services. Yeah, people who have books out, people who have podcasts out there and coaching programs, they come to me. How do I make a profit at this stuff? And I'm very successful at teaching them how to be entrepreneurial. If you like it, you can email me at alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right. That's ALCOLEHOLIC@gmail.com. And I really want to thank my CBS radio listeners for coming up with that handle, Alcoholic. It seems like from day one, my listeners have been saying, Al, we love what you're doing there, brother. In fact, we're hooked on it. We're Alcoholics. We love that. And also, I'm a New York Times best-selling author with Chicken Soup for the Soul. Chicken Soup for the Soul is distributed by CBS's Simon & Schuster. So we keep it in the family that way. Talking about family, boy, we got a lady that is going to talk it up about family here for you, my listening audience, and connect you to your family and your relationships. Her name is Daltonell Minors. Now, Dal has written 2 striking books. First we're going to talk about is Anya's Innocence. So, who's Anya? Well, she's the lead character of this novel. And Dal's going to tell us a little bit more about Anya, where she's coming from, and what her innocence is. We like innocence on People of Distinction. It always starts when we're babies and we say, wow, I'm here, I made it, I'm alive. I love the innocence of love. And so maybe it has something to do with love here and love of life. That's People of Distinction stuff. It also has something to do with the culture of Bermuda. Now get that. Dal is from Bermuda. And, a lot of Americans know Bermuda only as a haven for, holidays. I'm going to take a trip to Bermuda this summer. Wow, I'm going to have a lot of fun. But there are people that live there. Now, these people live there year-round. And guess what? Now, according to Dal, but she didn't have to tell me this. I already knew it. Bermuda is very family-oriented, marital-oriented. So 2 people get married, and it's no longer just 2 people. Now it's 2 people and the kids. But it's no longer just 2 people and the kids. It's 2 people, the kids, and a lot of other family members. Now, we know that. We know that there are places around the world that probably, have better marital and family relationships than in the good old USA. Okay. But many of the people who have great marital and family relationships in other countries, well, they come to the USA. And they do add to American culture that way. We're the melting pot, the United States. But the melting pot comes from other areas of the world, such as Bermuda. We love Bermuda. And, she's going to teach us how to love it even more with her book, Anya's Innocence, and how to love the culture of Bermuda, particularly marital and family relationships. We love that on People of Distinction. Later on in the show, we'll talk a little bit about another book that she's written, a poetry book called Memoirs of a Scattered Brain. Okay. You're getting it here. We don't know who the Scatterbrain is, but we're going to find out later on. So I want you people to stick around and listen to Daltonell Minors as she talks about two books, Anya's Innocence and also Memoirs of a Scattered Brain. Now, Memoirs of a Scattered Brain is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, also Kindle, so you can order it there. Anya's Innocence is still to come with her publisher, who is UR Link. UR Link gives us a lot of interviews on people of distinction, and you can go to UR Link's website to connect with Dal's book, Anya's Innocence. Go to urlinkpublishing.com. Welcome, Dal, to People of Distinction with Al Cole. How are you today?
Hi, Al. I'm good, thanks, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I'm going to bring on my son, Benji, as well, who's actually going to be conducting the interview. Benji, as a lot of my listeners know, is a L.A. filmmaker. He's also an L.A. actor, Los Angeles. And he's been on stage with the likes of Tom Hanks and a lot of other big people. And he's moving into Al Cole Enterprises as the primary interviewer, and he does a great job. We really like Benji on People of Distinction, and thank you for all of the kudos. I'm talking about you, my listening audience, right now, in the interviews that Benji has done. And now he's going to conduct this interview with Daltonell Minors, and first we'll be talking about her book, Anya's Innocence. So welcome to People of Distinction with Al Cole. Benji, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Al. As always, thank you very much for having me on the line. Appreciate it.
There we go. So, Benji, you can take over from now until towards the end of the show, and I'll come back and cap off things. So go for it, brother, with Anya's Innocence and Daltonell Minors.
Absolutely. Well, again, guys, as Al has already stated, we are on the line with Daltonell Minors. We're going to be first talking about Anya's Innocence. So, Dal, let's just jump right into it. Tell us,
Sure.
Without giving too much away, of course, you want to keep something there for the audience to want to hold on to. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, the book has been inspired by my culture in Bermuda. I was born and raised here, and family has always been an important part of Bermuda life. And Anya's Innocence is actually born out of those close relationships. It isn't based on anyone in particular. It's just a book based on my observations of just families and friends that I have on the island.
Fantastic. And we are following the main character, Anya, correct?
Yes.
All right. And again, I'm sure there's probably some meaning behind the title, Anya's Innocence. What kind of reflection can we take from that, or can you explain that title a little bit more for us?
Well, as I was writing the story, as I was writing the book, I really didn't have a name for the character. And while I was writing, a word just came to me, and it was Grace. And I said, hey, that's a really good name. But Grace seemed kind of old-fashioned, so I Googled and found another name that has the same meaning as Grace, and it was Anya. And the innocence is because Anya is very much an innocent young girl in a culture that she has grown up in, but she's been sheltered.
Fantastic. Okay, so she's grown up in this. So in the story, I'm assuming we follow her life story and as she tracks through and grows out of her innocence. I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's her. It starts basically her life story starting in her teen years, and she suffered some loss, and she only had herself, and as a result of that, she had to find her way through life, basically. And her innocence was put to the test as she was going through life. And she depended a lot on conversations with her parents. And those conversations actually helped to drive her to make the right decisions near the end of the book.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, well, I can clearly tell family, of course, is a big inspiration behind that.
Yes, it is.
A relatable piece of content, for a lot of our viewers, of course. Fantastic. So if there's one thing that you would have to say our audience just has to know about Anya's Innocence and they're able to take away from this interview, what would you say that is?
The one thing for me would be that it is an easy book to read. It's probably a book that can be read in a night because it'll captivate, it'll hold your attention. I don't like to do a whole lot of descriptive like overly descriptive things. I like to get to the point. And for me, that makes it easier to read as well as to follow. And the one thing I want people to take away is the fact that on an island that's only 21 square miles, that family is the big thing here. The communities are small. There's a lot of intermingling. When we have events, you'll have a reunion and everyone from all over will be there. It's just very family oriented. And that's the piece that I think helped Anya's Innocence to actually become an easier write for me, because I had enough personal experience that I could have infused into it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I'll tell you one thing, Dal. I mean, I could definitely relate to coming. I'm not from Bermuda, of course. Rhode Island, which is where I am from, is also a very, very small, tight-knit community.
Yes. My daughter went to school in Rhode Island, actually.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Yep.
But I don't live there now, but that's nothing against Rhode Island, of course. It's just opportunities led me elsewhere, and that's really
yes.
But definitely relatable that way. So fantastic. That sounds incredible. Now, tell us about your other book, Memoirs of a Scatterbrain. Tell us a little bit about that.
Memoirs of a Scatterbrain, was born out of years of writing. Writing actually was my, I guess I could call it my prescription, for whenever I was feeling any kind of emotion, I would take to the pen and paper. I'm the youngest of 4 children. My siblings are all 6, 7, and 8 years older than I am. So I was really almost like an only child in a house with 3 other children. So I used to take to the pen and just write. Just write because it gave me a release. And I often found that my writing, when I finished writing it, I could actually look at it and say, wow, it's almost like a metamorphosis, because I can see what I was going through. And even though I may not have the solution at the end, once I put those words on paper, it was almost like it was cathartic for me. It was like, oh, there was a release, like almost a purge of sorts, I guess I could say. And it's a compilation of my poetry, and some of it is inspired by my children. I have 2 children now. I have 2 grandchildren and my husband. And my inspiration has always been love-based. And some of the poetry is also, it can be very sad, and people have told me sometimes it's almost dark to some degree, but I always feel that it's only dark because you don't have the light that you need to shed on it so that it becomes light. So that's where I go with my poetry. I've been writing poetry for years, and it's just something I've always done. Now, Al mentioned the scatterbrain. Well, I am the scatterbrain.
Well, aren't we all sometimes, right?
Exactly.
Is a very relatable thing. I can definitely contribute as an artist. I feel like this was almost something that was speaking to me, right?
Yes.
We're kind of all in that vein from time to time. Now,
yeah.
Just to highlight for our audience again, so we have Anya's Innocence, the first book that we spoke about, short novel that is going to be available through You Are Link Publishing, and then we have Memoirs of a Scatterbrain that's available on Amazon and Amazon Kindle. Now, just to contrast between those, and correct me again if I'm wrong, Dal, but the first one, Anya's Innocence, that is a short novel, so it actually is the character Anya through life path that way. Memoirs of a Scatterbrain is almost like a collection of poetic poems, correct?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. And I know, of course, a big inspiration for you, as you've mentioned a number of times so far in this interview, is family and the culture and things that way. I'm just interested, are there any particular authors or poets that you tend to pull inspiration from?
Well, I do love to read Jodi Picoult and James Patterson and Richard North Patterson. I was a Mary Higgins Clark fanatic, so sorry to hear of her death, a recent passing. And when it comes to poetry, I used to read Maya Angelou a lot and Shel Silverstein. I read a lot of his work, but I don't think I was inspired by anyone else's writing when it came to my poetry, because it was just coming from my heart to my hand to the paper, so it was just, the inspiration was not, I couldn't give anyone, if I could say, credit for me doing poetry. The person I could credit for it, I guess, is my mother, who always said to me, go inside and write, go write something. And that's where it started.
There it is. Well, so much credit is always given to our parents. And if not given to them, it absolutely should, right? So
Yep.
it's beautiful to hear. And the reason why I was asking, I've never was so much into poetry. I definitely have had my moments throughout my years, but I'm definitely someone that was always very influenced by Shakespeare and a lot of the poetry that he wrote. And then also in a much darker vein, Edgar Allan Poe is a huge, still
yes.
very.
Well, you like some of my dark writing and memoirs.
Absolutely, I'm sure I would. I'm definitely one of the type of people that it's. A lot of times my friends kind of think that I'm very negative sometimes in certain music that I listen to or books or things that I read.
Yes, I can relate.
Yeah, I kind of love just experiencing different emotions without actually having to be in reality, right? So I think there's a lot of benefit to experience that, knowing that you're safe and you can easily get pulled back from it. So
yes, and I think also when you have something dark and it causes pain, for me the best part is to come out of the pain.
Absolutely.
So if I'm in a dark space and my writing can pull me out of that dark space, then I can see the beauty that's surrounding the writing that was being blocked out because of some thought issue or some fleeting idea that I had.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's always a lesson to be learned, right? So if you look closer, there's a lighting in every cloud. So beautiful. All right. Well, again, guys, we have Anya's Innocence short novel available through UR Link Publishing, and then Memoirs of a Scatterbrain available on Amazon and Amazon Kindle. Dal, this has been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Distinction. We truly appreciate it. Before we let you go, is there any last bit of information that you would like to highlight on either one of the books that we're showcasing today?
Not really. I mean, just that it's something I've always enjoyed. Anya's Innocence is my first ever novel, and I've tried to keep it as simple as possible, like I said, keeping Bermuda culture as a part of it, focusing on small communities and the close family ties, thinking about having trusted relationships and depending on your family to actually help you to weather your storms and to help you come through it all. And when you come through it all, you are a better person.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Dal. Minors.
You're welcome.
Again, guys, thank you very much for being with us today.
Yeah, look that. I tell you, another wonderful interview by my son Benji Cole, and this time with Dal Minors, author of Anya's Innocence and also Memoirs of a Scatterbrain. And, well, I got to say, boy, Dal sounds like anything but a scatterbrain. This lady is very deep, very intelligent, and it's been our pleasure to have her on People of Distinction. And this goes out to you, my listening audience right now, winding up two things, a little bit of the inspiration that Dal gave you and the People of Distinction inspiration. Comes down to a couple of things that I took from the interview in terms of concepts. The concept of love, which is not just a concept. I mean, that's a flat-out reality, people. We need love in our lives. And that culture of Bermuda that Dal was talking about and that I was talking about in the beginning of the show, marital relationships, family relationships, it's alive and well. We as Americans can learn from other cultures. Now, there's no doubt about that. And more, we're not just learning from other cultures. We are engaged in other cultures here in this country. We know that. And we need to accept that, accept diversity and inclusion into not only the U.S., but, hey, we're a worldwide human family, people. All around the world, there are families. That's the basic relationship. And then our human family, it's composed of all of these individual families. And the one thing that we have in common is love. We love our family units. Let's love the love that other people have for the people that they love. Get it? Let's respect that. That's one thing. Second thing is, when we talk a little bit about darkness, the darkness shines on the light as well. A little bit of talk throughout the interview about, some of the darker areas of life that we can investigate. Let's not be afraid of that either, people, because nobody lives a totally perfect life. We go downhill sometimes. Well, let's reflect on that. Let's talk about that, maybe to our marital relationships, our spouses, maybe to our family, and we do that. But let's do it even more. let's be honest about who we are on the inside, because who we are on the inside is expressed on how we communicate on the outside. And if we're not quite honest with ourselves, people are not getting the real deal of who we actually are. And so they're responding to something that might not be reality at all. Don't be afraid to be honest with the people who you love. Love embraces all of this. And also, don't be afraid to be honest with yourself. Because when you approach the darkness and you see that, wow, I can conquer this darkness, I can understand, the darkness goes away. And now there's the true light of love that shines through in its place. Now we need that in our world more than ever. All right, there are a lot of negative things going on, especially in this country, we know about. We confront them, and we make them positive, and we can do that. It's you, everyday people of distinction out there, that can change our world to the positive, and particularly what Dal was talking about with our relationships. And we start there, and then we go into the grand old opera thing of the relationship within our human family. We can make things better, people. And that's the way that we talk on People of Distinction, especially when we have Daltonell Minors on to cheerlead us into that area with both books, Anya's Innocence and Memoirs of a Scatterbrain. And you can order Memoirs of a Scatterbrain at Amazon and also Kindle and Barnes & Noble. And then you can get Anya's Innocence from the people that brought her to my show. That's UR Link. UR Link Publishing, one of the best in the publishing world. You got a book, you got to move it through UR Link. urlinkpublishing.com. Thank you again, Dal, for being my special guest on People of Distinction. Thank you, Benji, for conducting another excellent interview. Thank you both for this People of Distinction interview today. Thank you, Dal. We wish you all the best with your book and your life directions as well.
Thank you so much.
So, how'd you like Benji's interview of you?
He's good. He made me feel very much at ease.
Yeah, we love to hear that. So, thank you so much, Dal, for this wonderful interview.
And thank you so much as well.
Okay, so have a wonderful evening.
I will. You as well.
All right. We'll see you then.
All right. Bye, Benji.
Bye, Dal. Thank you very much for being a wonderful guest on People of Distinction. We wish you all the best.